So we actually have the keeper of the cup, Howie Borrow, is joining us here in studio live right now. So Howie has been going around to different teams, different cities, and making the rounds today. So you're here in studio. We have the actual Stanley Cup. Now the question for you, let's debunk some myths. A lot of people say, well, this isn't the actual Stanley Cup. But the Stanley Cup that I'm looking at right now, I see Rob Brindamore's name. When he hoisted the cup after the Canes won it in 2006, this is the one he picked up, right?
This is the one, absolutely.
This is the one.
Yes, sir.
That's incredible.
It's always the one.
It's always the one.
So the story is, if you read Wikipedia, it's going to say there are 3 Stanley Cups. Well, one of them is just the original bowl from 1893. Mm-hmm. It's on permanent display in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It doesn't travel. It just stays there. And then we have a replica that was made specifically for the Hockey Hall of Fame for the fans to see when they visit.
Gotcha. So
it's
always,
one
so there's
it's
something
right here now.
there.
This is the only one that travels. This is the one that has all the history. This is the one that everybody wants to win.
All right, so I'm seeing a lot of different names. Like, for example, I'm seeing the Edmonton Oilers, 1989, 1990 is in here. I see Mark Messier's name. I see Wayne Gretzky. I see a lot of different names on here. How far back do the names and teams on this go?
It goes back to 1893, the very first team that ever won it. So there's a shoulder area before everything drops down to the main bands. That represents the first 100 years of the Stanley Cup. So all the winners from 1893 to 1992 are on there. Okay. Just the year and the team name only.
Okay.
And so then the names of the players. Can we go into a little bit of the history of how it became that everybody that wins the cup, they get their name on the cup? I mean, that's one of the most cool things about this particular trophy.
Yes, you can see even above the neck piece that comes down below the bowl itself, there are players' names on here too. And that was back in the early 20s, 1930s. I'm not exactly sure about the history with everything else, but when the cup was designed this way, I think whoever had this design in mind meant for the players' names to be engraved on it. So right from, it should be 1917, the first year of the NHL, but I think the bands might start at 1927. I'm not exactly sure about that, but now we get 52 names each year. You get coaches, owners, office,
front
staff.
office staff, general manager, owners, all those kinds of things. Howie Borrow, keeper of the cup, joining us here live in studio, along with the Stanley Cup itself. Now, eventually, there's going to be not enough space to add more names. So what happens? Do rings get taken off? Do they add to the cup? Does this thing get larger? What happens to the names as more teams get added on?
Right. It'll never get larger. The way it's designed is the top half of the cup up is permanent because that shows some of the original history. Mm-hmm. So only the 5 bands on the bottom.
Okay, so there's only 5 bands.
Yes.
Okay.
So when the very bottom band is filled every 13 years, they'll remove the top one. It's retired to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Everything gets shifted up one, and a brand new one's put on the bottom, and they start over again.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so I also have a question for you. Since I'm not allowed to pick this up, which is totally okay, even though I want to. How much does this thing actually weigh?
Yeah.
It's about 36 pounds.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you got to work out for this. So you get plenty of a workout lugging this thing around, I'm sure.
We do. There are days where it's it's very strenuous, and depending on how far you have to walk with it, but it's a good thing. I'm not going to really complain about it because I'm carrying the Stanley Cup, so you can't complain about that.
It's one of the coolest jobs ever.
Absolutely.
I actually shouldn't ask this question because I want to know what all is taking place in the actual cup itself, but actually I don't want to know some of the answers to those things. I know I've seen babies take baths in these things. People eat cereal, drinking out of it, obviously. What are some of the more unique things that you have seen people with the Stanley Cup champion? Because everyone gets a day with the cup that wins it.
They do.
So what are some of the more unique things that you have seen people do with the cup, and also how often do you have to clean this thing after that?
It gets cleaned every day.
Okay.
And that helps preserve the silver on it, right? Because we don't want it to oxidize. If it sat for too long, it would start to go brown or whatever the color is. But so it's washed every day. Takes off the fingerprints and the lipstick marks. And sometimes we'll wash it more than once or twice. But so the players, they'll take it golfing with some of their buddies. They'll take it fishing. Mm-hmm. Guys have taken it on boats and they've gone water skiing and stuff, but the cup stays in the boat. It doesn't go out. We don't want it dumped in the river or the lake or whatever because we don't want to lose it.
No.
It's heavy enough that it will it might float for a minute or two before it goes down.
I'm saying, have you ever had to hire like a deep sea diver to go fish this thing out?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay.
We've had guys take helicopters up to mountaintops, and they've had scenic shots taken that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's been a lot of really cool things done with the Cup, and I'm not there for everything. My boss, Phil Pritchard, and another guy, Mike Bolt, and a few of the other guys that have traveled with the Cup, they've gone to a lot of different places. It's been on the shuttle, not out to outer space, but it's been on, for a tour of that. It's been on battleships. I took it to Gettysburg one time with a guy from Pittsburgh. A lot of historical stuff. Wherever we can take it that's very unique, where it's never been before, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, it's great hockey.
Now, Howie Borrow, keeper of the Stanley Cup, joining us live here in studio with the Stanley Cup itself. I see some dents on here. There have been a couple times. I know this thing has been dropped. Even last year's Stanley Cup, the championship, just right straight from the get-go, boom, hitting on the ice. So I know it's not perfectly symmetrical. How hard and how tedious of a process is it to take out some of the dents? Because I know up top here at the Cup itself, that's been reshaped a few times.
Right. I guess depending on the damage, we have a person in Montreal who's been the silversmith for over 30 years now.
Okay.
And when we bring it to her, she does her magic and she's able to fix it up. I guess that's the best thing about metal, is that it can be, reformed. But we don't want any damages, or as little as possible, done to the silver, because, if it damages some of the names and stuff, it's really something that you don't want to tarnish somebody's name that worked so hard to win this thing. But we're doing our best to keep it in good shape. But at times it has fallen. The bowl's been dented and stuff, but it gets refixed, and we're happy to be able to bring it on the road again. You were saying, the perfection or whatever, it's been given the nickname, the imperfect perfection.
Yeah.
The Stanley Cup. So we do our best. I mean, accidents are going to happen, but, we do what we can to keep it in its normal shape.
How many days throughout the year is this like on tour? Or out of wherever it normally stays?
Right. It's somewhere between 300 and 330 days a year.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So this thing's constantly on the road.
Constantly on the move. The NHL has their own dates, blocked off. We have minor hockey stuff. We have charity events. The NHL has their, things that they do with corporate sponsors and stuff like that. So there's always something going on with it.
Well, and this isn't the first time that Lord Stanley has been in Raleigh this calendar year, Dennis. It was here.
That's true.
During the Stadium Series.
I remember people were lined up like crazy to go see the Stanley Cup.
Around the block.
Literally, they're around the block, and it was here for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So those are obviously unique times for that. When it's actually not on the road, those 30 to 60 days throughout the year, where does it actually, does this go to the Hockey Hall of Fame?
It would be at the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And that's usually an opportunity for the replica to go and get engraved too. So it's kept the exact same as this one, so that when fans go and they can see the current teams that are on there.
So dents and everything. So if this gets dropped, are we dropping the replica as well? I mean, that's, if you want to keep it exact same, you got to do it.
Well, I guess I should watch the way I word it, but you can't replicate it perfectly like that. The cup in the Hall of Fame is probably in better shape, actually, but this is how you can tell that this is the one that's the original, what we consider the original, the one that travels all around the world.
And then during the finals, is it only in the building on a night that a team can clinch it?
That's usually the tradition, yes. So if it's a Game 4 or anything above that where there's a potential chance for it to be presented, normally there's a superstition from the teams. I mean, they know what's going to be there, but they just don't want it in the building. So we keep it close by so that they can bring it in at the last minute when it's needed.
Well, there's a different era of those games. Those games, those clinching games, when they show that cup on TV in the building for one of those games that is a possible clinching game, you can just tell that there's just a different feel. There's nothing like it.
I think everybody feels it. The fans, the players, even our team of Cup guys. They know it's soon going to be presented, and it's one of those things that it's every season that's going to happen, and it's a big moment, So it's fun.
Yeah. So, Dennis, my name is on this cup.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Brett Knese is on this cup?
Well, not Brett Knese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm from St. Louis.
Okay.
And I was born in the 90s when the great Brett Hull was in town in St. Louis, and so had a mother and father that loved Brett Hull. And so I'm looking right at it, Dennis. The Dallas Stars, 1998, 1999.
There it
I can
is.
see Brett Hull right there. My name is on that cup.
Okay,
How about it?
I can actually see the 05-06 Cup on here. So I'm looking at Rob Brendamore's name.
It's a good.
I
that's a good
see
look.
Glenn Wesley. I see Justin Williams. So you see our friend head of PR over at the Carolina Hurricanes, Mike Sunheim.
Yeah.
His name is here on the cup. So you know what? Maybe get Mike over here. Let's hoist this bad boy. All right. So actually, my final question for you is this. So people, the tradition is can't pick up the cup or touch the cup unless your name is on it or your team has won it, correct?
Well,
that's generally the tradition amongst hockey folks.
Yes.
All right.
If you're still in the league and you're playing for the cup, you don't want to go near it.
Yeah, you don't want to go
we
near it.
allow fans to touch it, hug it, give it a kiss if they like. But yeah, the tradition is we want to keep it special for the players.
Sure.
They've earned the right to be able to pick it up. So that's when they can pick it up from any time that they've won it to the rest of their life.
Okay, so that was my question. So after they're done playing or after their name is on this cup, they could pick it up. You say, hey, you know what? I've earned this. I've won this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
I love that.
That's pretty awesome. All right, that's Howie Borrow, keeper of the Stanley Cup, live here with us in studio. Thanks for your time. Really do appreciate it. I know you've had other cities to go to, so you can just go ahead and lead Stanley right here.
Yeah,
and because Canes are winning this. Canes are winning this. I already see the spot where they're going to have their team engraved on it right over here, so I know exactly where it's going to be. So, Howie, you can travel. This can just stay right here in studio with us.
It's going to spend all summer with us.
It's going to stay right here all summer.
That
would be nice. Raleigh is a great place to visit and a great place to hang out for the summer. So you never know. Hopefully that happens for you guys, and good luck. And, some great hockey to go, but we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
That's Howie Borrow joining us here live in studio alongside Brett Knese, Dennis Cox here with you this afternoon on 99.9 The Fan. Lord Stanley Cup joining us as well. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we will talk about Game 4 as I continue to admire this cup. And if it's still in here, I'm just going to probably read names for about 15 minutes. Looking back at some of these. Because I look back over here and I see the Philadelphia Flyers from 1974-75. I look at that, Dave Schultz and Joe, just all these different names on the Stanley
Bruins
Cup.
From 71-72, the Canadians.
It just it's
oh my goodness,
piece of history just sitting right here. Actually, I do have one final question for you. I see actually Club Day Hockey Canadiens from 78-79, but then I see Montreal Canadiens from the 92-93 seasons. Why the change in name there?
Great question. So from what I've been told, the team president has the choice of how to word it. So if the team president is a French Canadian, he'll probably use the French wording.
Makes sense.
For the Club de Hockey de Montreal. If it's a English president, they'll use the typical English spelling of it, Montreal Canadiens. So it's a good question. I'm glad you noticed that. And it's another little tidbit, something a little different about the Cup that just adds to the historical lore about it.
Gotta love it.